G'day everyone, and welcome back to Derriere Farms, and welcome to Precision Farming 22. I managed, finally, to uninstall my mods, script mods, and get Precision Farming loaded. Which is probably fine, because this is supposed to be a how-to video, and it's supposed to be equally applicable to PC players as well as console players. So, not using script mods that console players don't have access to really is no big deal. Okay, so in this video, we've got, like I said, Precision Farming installed and running. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over the basics of how to get things set up, as much for new players as for older players, and we'll have a look and see what has changed in the basic layout and the basic setup. Now, if you've been following along with the blogs, some of this will be new and some of this won't be. Okay, so this is going to be an introductory, I'll try again in English, an introductory video to precision farming. We're going to go over the basics and get everything set up. We'll go over the menu and we'll go over some of the equipment. But according to the blog, the changes or the benefits of precision farming will not take effect until you've harvested your current farm or your current crops. Now, I'm playing with seasonal growth off, so it'll make it quicker for us to be able to cycle through the process. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we'll look at the menu. And just like in Farming Simulator 19, the icon is a satellite taking an image of a field. And right off the bat, you can see, because we haven't done anything yet, we have no information to display. pH, we don't know what the pH levels are of our fields. They should be okay because I limed them all when they needed it. Nitrogen levels, we don't know, but, and this is actually fairly important, each crop, and this isn't discussed anywhere in the blogs, but each crop has a different nitrogen level. And the automatic sensors are supposed to detect that. So we'll be able to see on the map probably different crops ranging anywhere from 60, I think, for soybeans, to 200 for wheat and barley. And you'll see it change over time. Okay, this is the yield. Right now, the most we can get in the base game is 100% by doing everything. Well, with the exception of bees, which can get you up to 105. But for the most part, you're looking at around 100%. And my goal by the end of the series is to have an environmental score of close to 90 to 100. I know I'm aiming high. And hopefully we'll get a yield bonus up into the green area if we do everything right. and we'll go over what gives you the bonuses to get all the way up to 120 or 125%, because Giants so far have told us that a good environmental score will either give us a 15% yield bonus or a negative 15% yield bonus. So if we say maximum yield right now in game is 105%, how do we get to 120? Well, that all comes down to seeding and fertilization, which will come later. The seed rate, that'll be displayed, and that'll tell us, from my understanding, after we've seeded a field. It won't tell us what we need. It'll tell us, after we've seeded a field, what rate the seed was applied at. I could be wrong, but we'll find that out when we get into seeding, variable rate seeding. And this also depends on the soil types. Different crops need different amounts of seed depending on whether they're loamy sand, sandy loam, silty clay, and so on. Okay, so that's the menu. Now, to find out your environmental score, if we had a field that was, which we don't, I want that to go away. What do I do? 1 second. Okay, that's why I couldn't see or show you the environmental score for each field, is because we were zoomed out too far. We actually need to zoom in fairly close to get an idea. Just like Farming Simulator 19, we have, if we click on a field, we get the economic analysis, which will show us essentially what was spent and what we've made off of each field. It'll tell us how much liquid fertilizer we've applied or mineral fertilizer, how much we've spent in seeds, how much we spend in herbicide controlling the weeds, how much fuel was used, how much vehicle maintenance, and how much we paid our AI workers. So it's very, very detailed, and it's very good information as to determining where you're making money and where you're losing money. All right, next we have the fields. And right now they don't really show anything. They've got a neutral environmental score because we don't have any information yet. But by opening up the environmental, clicking on the field and then opening the environmental score, we can see what our bonuses are. 15 is neutral, 7.5 is neutral, weed control, 15 is neutral, we can get that up to 30. So just basically multiply all these numbers by 2. Soil sampling will give us a bonus of 15. And tillage, that's going to range quite a bit, either up to 10 or down to 0. This is the one I'm curious about. Especially for crops like corn, where you have to plow after harvest. Because plowing gives you the lowest environmental score for tillage because it does the most environmental harm. It creates erosion and problems like that. So anyway, that is the menu and the information we can gain from the menu. And one more thing, as you can see, each field is going to have its own environmental score depending on what you're doing, and then there will be a farm average. Alright, before we go any further, we might as well go over some of the basic equipment we're going to need to get started. And the first thing we're going to need is an RTK station. That can be found under Buildings in the Construction menu. There are two different options you have. Essentially, they do exactly the same thing. Now that I think about it, I'm not quite sure where I want to place the RTK station. Basically, the RTK station is... it improves your worker efficiency because it simulates in the game the direct communication between the satellites and the tractors, and it gives the workers more accuracy when they're in the field, and it also makes them work 11% faster. So it's definitely something you want to have. In real life, the difference, there's a, I think, 5 centimeter difference between the accuracy of an RTK versus just a regular Starfire GPS receiver. But let me find a good place and I will let you know. Actually, I'm going to put it right beside the trailer here. And there is no difference, as I said, between the small one or the large one. The only thing I don't know, which would be nice to know about the shed, we'll figure that out, is whether or not the doors actually open. They didn't open in Farming Simulator 19, but it also wasn't a Rudolf Herman shelter. Alright, so that's the RTK station placed. Yeah, no, we can't open the door. Alright, now we'll quickly go over some of the equipment we need to buy. So, the first thing we need in terms of vehicles is the John Deere Gator, and this is to do soil samples. So you need the Gator with the 3-point attachment. It's already got the Starfire on it, which I, like I said in another video, made a comment thinking, Giants must have been planning ahead rather than having to re-release it. They just put the Starfire on at the beginning. And it doesn't affect the price, which is nice. So we'll buy that. And now to take our soil samples, we need the Azaria Scout. And we'll buy that for $17,000. So, getting into precision farming, if you're starting on a new farm, is fairly expensive because we spent, what, $30,000 on the Gator and another $17,000 on the Azaria Scout, plus the RTK station. You probably want either to have the challenge of the extra cost, or wait till you've built up your farm a little bit and then purchase those two items. That's the crop scanner that you saw in the blog. We'll get into that later when we get into nitrogen levels. So let's skip over to the store. and I'm assuming it goes this way. It's been a while since I used it. Yeah. In Farming Simulator 19, for those that didn't play it, somebody actually, I think it was Black Sheep Modding, made a version of the Izaria Proactive, and it wouldn't it scanned everything, not just the nitrogen levels, but it scanned the soil and the soil types, which meant you didn't need to use the Izaria Scout. I'm sure somebody will come out with another mod that does all in one. So we take our little gator out to the field. And we'll just do the sides for now, because I just want to show you how to do it. Or how it would be done in real life. So we lower the soil sampling unit, and then we press B to take a soil sample. I guess you have to unfold it first. And there we go. Now, if we go back to our precision farming map, it'll show you the area the soil sample's being taken. And then you just drive. If this was an empty field, I have crop destruction off. You drive along to another point. We're a little bit close. There's going to be some overlap there. But here, and then we take another soil sample. We're only going to do 2 because I just want to show you how to do it. And the rest we will buy the soil sample maps from. So I think that's why to send them to the lab. The soil samples are now sent to the laboratory for analysis. You will get so we should, in a few minutes, by the time we take this back to the farm, we should have our soil analysis. Yep, there we go. So if we compare the soil type to that which is shown there, this part of that field is silty clay. I don't know if I can purchase soil information. Yes. Okay, so you can purchase soil information for, even if you've started taking it with the Izaria, you can purchase it for the rest of the field. So the agronomist is going to take 24 samples total based on the size of the field, the cost of which is $900. So it's going to cost us a total of $2,100 to soil sample this entire field. Part of what you're paying for with this field is you're paying for soil samples. The whole area in blue will have its soil samples taken, even though it's not or not in crop. If we were to plow it, then we would see what type of soil the rest of this is. So we have a mixture of silty clay and loam in this field. Let's take a soil sample for this field. And eventually you're going to have them done for all your fields. So I'm just going to do these fields for now to give us a rough pattern. of what this side of the farm looks like. Alright, so it looks like we have a band of silty clay running down this side of the farm and this side of the farm, and the middle is, for the most part, loam with a little bit of sandy loam in field 40. So, you can see now that our scores on the field have gone up a little bit because we get a bonus for taking. We get that extra 5 points, or 7 points. Yeah, we were at 50%, so we get 7 points for taking soil samples. Let's head over to the field. So it's telling me that the pH value is bad and the nitrogen level is bad as well. What does it say for the other fields over here? So even though this field has been fertilized twice, or had been before I took the soil samples, needs rolling plowing. Where is that silly? Alright, I guess they've taken the nitrogen levels or the fertilization state out when you install precision farming. So it's kind of hit and miss as to what you're going to get. It seems to reset it to the default. This one, the pH value is a little bit better, but it could definitely do with some lime. And over here, we're still no better off. As you can see, the nitrogen level is at 15, so it's basically wiped that out. And it should be at 140 kilograms per hectare. Right, and that is for oats. Let's go back to this field, and I forget what's in here. Barley. Barley should be 180 kilograms a hectare. So barley requires quite a bit more fertilizer than oats does. And if we, we'll do this one just for a rough idea. We'll purchase the soil information for this farm. 57%. Again. So the nitrogen level is perfect because soybeans require 0 kilograms of nitrogen, and they actually put nitrogen into the ground. So that works the same way as Farming Simulator 19 did. However, the pH level is bad and it could use some lime. Alright, that's the basics of how you get started. I honestly don't know, having had it installed. Yield potential and expected yield is 65%. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm trying to figure this out as we go. Expected yield is 118%. Yield potential is 125 if everything's done right. Okay, so it looks like the part about where Giant said it won't take effect until you've harvested the current crop is not necessarily true. You need... the effects will take... See, the expected yield on this is only 65%. And we don't have a soil sample. So realistically, you need to take your soil samples when the game starts, as opposed to after you've done your first harvest. Because it seems to correct the crops as soon as you install precision farming and not after the crops are harvested. Anyway, that is how to get set up with precision farming. How to take your soil samples and how to read what's going on. In the next set of videos, we'll look at nitrogen levels. We'll look at different ways of applying nitrogen levels and the senses you require. We'll look at liming. And we'll look at a couple of other factors. And this will probably stretch over a couple of videos. Especially as one of the things I really want to do is figure out exactly what nitrogen levels are after you've harvested. So, for example, we're supposed to put down 200 kilograms a hectare for, was it the barley? And I want to see what it takes out. If it brings us all the way back down to 0, or if it leaves us with 25% or 30%. Because in Farming Simulator 19, each crop left behind used up a certain amount of nitrogen. So you planned your crop rotation based on how much nitrogen was going to be left after that harvest. If you had a crop that was going to leave you with 0 nitrogen, that was a perfect time to plant soybeans. Because once it's harvested, much like oilseed radish, you will have nitrogen in the soil. And that's the other thing we want to look at, is how does oilseed radish work with precision farming. I never looked into it in Farming Simulator 19. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, remember to give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, as more videos will be coming. And I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. Take care.